A very good morning to all my dear audience for today's webinar. I, Dr. Rajeshwari Ravi, the Director of GD Jalan College, on behalf of the convener of our college committee, Shri Babalalji Todi, and on behalf of all the members of our managing committee, our teaching and non-teaching staff, and our dear students. We welcome our resource person for today, Mr. Pranav Shastri, and we are going to hear from him the session on a very interesting topic, Bitcoins. That's a very well-known virtual currencies today that we have heard of. We have been reading news about a lot of controversies also about Bitcoins. But I think none of us who are attending this webinar have a complete or a thorough knowledge of the pros and cons of Bitcoins. So let us hear today from our resource person, Mr. Pranav Shastri. Mr. Pranav Shastri, he will orient us on Bitcoins, as Bitcoin is one of the most well-known virtual currencies, as I told you, as of today, with its value rising dramatically since its launch in 2009. Pranav Shastri is a master trainer at Willy India Private Limited, a global e-learning platform for professional development of students. He is the founder and director of Fiesta, as well as the Amity Future Academies program director. He has successfully delivered over 50 workshops and training sessions on topics such as fundamental Java, advanced Java, blockchain, and other developing technologies, providing more than 3,000 students with the opportunity to learn about the latest and emerging technologies. So without wasting much time, we welcome our resource person for today, Mr. Pranav Shastri.
Hello,
Mr. Pranav, over to you. We are very eager to hear you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, you're audible. You're audible.
Thank you. That was a very warm welcome. I would like to thank uh, Dr. Rajesh and the entire managing committee, teaching non-teaching staff and students today that you all have given me this opportunity to be part of the institute and deliver on this very hyped topic of ours, which today is of grave importance that we all should know what it is and how does it work before actually just gauging or judging based on other people or based on the news outside. We would want to understand what exactly this is and how does it work. So today we will be
Mr. Pranav, sorry to interrupt.
yes, ma'am.
Your voice is extremely feeble. We are not able to hear clearly. Can it be increased?
Just give me a moment. Now is it better?
Slightly better.
Okay, just give me one moment. I'll just get my earphones.
Sure.
Now, ma'am, now is it better?
Hello?
Hello. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Is it better now?
Okay. If it can be little more louder, it will be better.
Okay, I'll just come closer, so it should. All right. So this topic of Bitcoin is one of the most spoken of, and there is a lot of there are a lot of myths and a lot of things going around in the market regarding the same. So today we will understand what this topic is, what exactly Bitcoin is, how does it work, and along with that, we will try discussing the benefits of it. If there is some drawbacks around it, we will also be looking into all of those things. But till now, we basically understood that, as ma'am correctly said, that it is a type of a virtual currency that we have. It is a digital currency. It is some kind of a store of a value. So we'll understand what makes it a store of value and why we use it as a digital currency. Another thing, to all the participants, I have the chat open right in front of me. Anytime during the session you have any queries, any doubts, please type it in, and I will be happy to help all of you out with the queries. So y'all can just type in a yes if y'all are with me, and we'll proceed. Y'all can quickly type in a yes in the chat, and we'll go ahead. So Bitcoin is, as ma'am said, it's a virtual currency, but more than a virtual currency, it's not simply a currency that it is. It is something called as a blockchain. It is a part of a bigger infrastructure, and blockchain is what gives Bitcoin its value. To understand how Bitcoin works, yes, digital assets. To understand how Bitcoin works, to understand why is it valuable, we'll have to understand something that we care a lot about. So, money, as you know, is a very integral part of our lives. Money has been very close to us since very long time. Initially, money or value or exchange was the way in which we used to deal. The commerce used to happen with the help of goods, which had certain value. So, if I wanted, say, 1 kg of rice, so I would give, say, 1 kg of wheat. So, the exchange rates were fixed, and based on those exchange rates, then the transfer would take place. And that system in the olden days was called as barter. Gradually, this barter system then moved on, and now we have something called as currencies. So the currencies did not develop directly. It was a long path wherein commodities were used. Then banks came into existence. Then they used certain things like shells. Metal coins were made of gold, silver. Those metal coins were used. Then leather money was used, and gradually from the leather, now we've moved to paper, notes, and we also have digital currency in the form of credit cards, net banking, and all of these things. So, this is a brief history about money, and money is something that we all work for. You know, you and I, we've studied so much. We are studying, all the students we are studying right now. For what? So that after completing our education, we can get a good job, we can make decent amount of money, we can fulfill our needs, we can give whatever we want to our parents, to our children. And that's what basically the aim behind education and behind working so hard is. But if we don't understand what exactly is money, we tend to not realize how things around us are changing. So, what exactly is the property of money, or what is money? Money needs to have these properties that we can see. Money needs to be fungible, money needs to be durable, portable, uniform, limited in supply, acceptable, and divisible. Now, what exactly is fungible? Fungible simply means the interchangeability of money. So, if I have 100 rupees in my wallet, and if you have 100 rupees, we can swap it and yet be at an equal level. Okay, so every unit is exactly the same and bears the same value, and it is exchangeable. Durable, it means it can be exchanged continuously, it is not destroyed there. Portable means we can carry it around. Uniform means it is supposed to represent a uniform value. So if I have 100 rupees in Maharashtra, the 100 rupees will bear the same value in Karnataka or in say Rajasthan or UP. So it has a uniform value, limited in supply. It should not be infinite in supply. Why? Because anything that is abundant, anything that is infinite, it tends to lose its value. We'll talk about the limited supply in a bit. Acceptable, it should be accepted all across, everyone should accept it, and it should be divisible. So if I want to break my 100 rupee note into smaller denominations, it should happen. You should be able to do that. Now in the olden days the money was connected with gold. So if you look at it, all the currencies all across the world were connected to US dollar, and then US dollar was pegged with some kind of gold, some quantity of gold. You might have heard your parents say that this money represents some amount of gold which the RBI has. So that was called as the gold backed standard. How many of you all are aware of the gold backed standard, wherein money was connected with some amount of gold, and that gold is supposed to be with the central bank, whether it's RBI, whether it's federal bank, whatever it may be. They need to keep some gold to print more money, right? Okay, you can just type a yes or a no. I'd like to know how many of y'all are there with me. If y'all know this standard, just type in a yes or no. Y or N is also cool. You can just type a Y or N. Now, this gold backed standard was suspended in 1970. After the 1970s, the gold backed standard was suspended. And today, this currency, this money that we have, the connection between the money and the gold was suspended. And since then, the money has been free floating. Yes. This money has been free floating, no connection with any commodity whatsoever. There is only one entity controlling this, which is the government. That's all. And whenever they want, whenever they feel like, they can print more money. And that's why this is called as fiat currency. The money that we use, the currency that we have, the notes that are there in our wallets, they are all fiat currency. What does fiat mean? Fiat means faith. So it is a currency because we have faith in the government, we have faith in the currency, that okay, the money, the paper currency with me will help me exchange goods, will help me transfer value. That's the reason why it's called fiat currency. If the government collapses, if tomorrow the prime minister comes and says, Mitro, 2000 rupee notes are not going to be valid, you know what happens. We have been through that, right? So if the government says it is currency, it is currency. If the government denies it, things are going to go bad. So this is the problem with fiat currency. Another problem with fiat currency is it is completely in the control of the government. So if the government feels like making more money, they can. Okay. So this is a very bad year in terms of commerce. All the teachers, staff, they know what happened in 2000. How many of y'all know what happened in 2008? Just type in a yes or no, a Y or a N. In 2008, there was a big financial crisis all over the world. Big crisis. A lot of people lost their jobs. The markets crashed. Yes, correct, Ziad. The markets crashed. Yes, Vipul, correct. Jinesh, perfect. So there was a big crisis. And what happened during that crisis was that the banks, who were the main culprits, they made this collapse happen. So I'll just give you a quick gist of what happened at that time. Today, if I go to the bank and I say that I have a house worth 1 crore and I want to take some funds against it, it's called mortgaging the house. I keep the house as a mortgage with the bank and I take some funds against it. How much funds will I get against a house of 1 crore? Generally, it's around 60 to 70% of the market price. So if it is 1 crore market price, you'll get around 60 to 70%. Just prior to 2008, in 2002, 3, 4, 5, in the US, people were doing the same thing. They were going to the bank. They were saying, okay, this house is worth 1 crore. Give me a mortgage. The bank was giving them a mortgage of 60, 70%. That was okay. The problem was on the same house, people were having two, three, four, five mortgages.
They were mortgaging the same house to 5 different banks. So imagine if I have a house worth 1 crore, I'm getting say 70 lakhs against it from one bank, and I go to 5 different banks, I'll get 3.5 crores. 3.5 crores for a house worth 1 crore. You think I'm going to pay the money back? No, obviously not. I'll simply tell the bank, you take away my house. I'm okay with it. And what am I going to do with that money? I'll buy a house worth 2 crore. 1.5 crore, I'll enjoy life. I'll buy a big car. I'll spend it on myself. What am I going to do with that 2 crore house? I will again mortgage it to 5 banks. Now, instead of 3.5, I'll get 7 crores against that 2 crore house. And the cycle will go on. So all of this, kept happening there in the US because the interest rates were very low. People were doing that. Secondly, the banks were not doing their respective checks. This kept on piling up, piling up, piling up. And in 2008, the entire market crashed. Everything collapsed. Whose fault was it? The fault of the bank. Anyone has any idea how big this crisis was? How much money did we lose during that crisis? The reason why I'm talking about the crisis in the US is because today the world is one single economy. Okay, US economy, Indian economy, we are not that different. Something happens in the US, the entire world gets affected. Something happens in India, entire world gets affected. Russia, Ukraine starting a war, the world gets affected. So just understand that the economy that we're talking of today, it's not single one country, one nation economy. The economy is a global economy, right? So during that time, during the collapse in 2008, how much money was lost or infused to bring the economy back? Jinesh says trillions of dollars. You're right. Okay. If you look at the different reports, some say it was $2 trillion, some say it was $700 billion, some say $3 trillion. Let's try gauging how much is 1 trillion, and then I'll give you the exact number. What is the number? $1 trillion is how many Indian rupees? Anyone? $1 trillion is how many INR? Okay, you have to convert it for me. I'll give you the conversion for one. No, it's okay. So for $1 billion. Okay, let's talk in our crores, lakhs. Okay, Jinesh. So $1 billion is 7,500 crore, 7,500 crore rupees. All right. If we take the exchange rate of 75, 1 billion is 7,500 crores. All right. 1 trillion, 1 trillion is 1,000 billion. Perfect, Jinesh. 1 trillion is 1,000 billion. All right. So you multiply 1,000 with 7,500. How much will that be? Guess. Just guess. 7,500 multiplied by 1,000. How many crore rupees are going to be that? Y'all can calculate. I'll give you the number. 75 lakh crore. Okay. 75 lakh crore is 1 trillion. All right. You can Google it. Certain people believe there was a bailout of $2 trillion. $2 trillion. That means 1.5 crore rupees. All right. But I'll give you one number which is going to blow your head off. This is not a number that I have come up with. This is the number that CNBC came up with. The bank bailout of 2008 was of $29 trillion. Okay, 1 trillion, 75 lakh crore. Do the math. 29 trillion is going to be how much? You can do the math. So imagine this was the size of the bank bailout. And that was the time where this person, Satoshi Nakamoto, realized that we cannot rely on the government, we cannot rely on these banks, because they keep doing these frauds, they keep making their own money, they keep doing whatever they want with their rules. And who has to pay the money? Who do you think has to pay this 79, this 29 trillion? Who will pay this? We will. We have to pay. Okay, just to give you context, guys. Do you all have any loans on your head? Do you all have any debt on your head? The faculties can also answer as why and no. Anyone who has any loan or debt on their head? No. I think most of us are students, so I don't think they all must be having. But I think a faculty must be having some house loan, some car loan, personal loan, some kind of a loan. But I'll give you a number. Each and every person in this world has a loan on the head as soon as they're born. As soon as you're born, you have some debt on your head, and the debt is around 50 lakh rupees globally. Okay, if you look at the global debt, I'll show you something. I'll show you live. I like demonstrating things live rather than taking screenshots and just giving you some numbers. So I'll share my screen. I'll show you a website which calculates the world's debt live. So if you look at this, this is the world debt calculator. Okay, so you can see US has a debt of $30 trillion. You can see India $2.2 trillion debt. Okay, debt meaning the government spends before they have the money. Okay, there was the budget announced some days back. Government said we are going to spend this much in this sector, this much in this sector, this much in this sector. Do they have that money? They do not have that money. Okay, if imagine guys, if you are making say 1 lakh rupees a month, how much will you spend? Just type it in the chat. If your income is 1 lakh rupees in a month, okay, how much money in a month will you spend? Just type it in the chat, guys. Out of that 1 lakh, how much money you think you will be spending every month? Okay, 70,000, that's good. Okay, 50,000, great, great. What about the others? Sarvesh, very nice. 20 to 30K, you will manage everything. Great, great. So we'll spend less, right? Anyone who is going to spend 1.5 lakh rupees in spite of the income being 1 lakh, is it possible? I don't think we'll do that, right? Because we want to save, right? Government does that. The government's income is say 1 lakh, they'll spend 2 lakh. Where does the other 1 lakh come from? Loan. They make new money because they are the authority. And who has to pay the money back? We have to. The tax, all of those things that we are taxed for, GST, SGST, or your income tax, all of those things is used for paying the debt back, and that is what makes us in debt. So the number that I gave you, around 50,000, so I have not made that number up. uh, uh, I will show you the per capita debt that is on everyone. Okay, again, I am not going to give you random numbers. I will give you a live website on which all of it is calculated. So uh, 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 so country wise debt is different, and then we have per capita debt of the global population, which is something around uh, $80,000 or something. Okay, I'm not able to find it right now. Okay, so see, in the US it is around $60,000. In UK it is around this much. So if you look at it, there is a lot of debt in every country. In India also, it's very significant. And if you look at globally, there is a huge debt all across. So all of these things pointed out towards one thing, and That was decentralization. So we all of us, we humans, we transact with one another. Okay, we talk to one another, we exchange ideas, we message things, we chit chat, we transact in terms of commodities. You give me some service, I'll pay you the money. Or if I'm a manufacturer of a product, you give me the product, I'll give you money. So we transact, and for those transactions we require trust. Today, like right now also, we are transacting, you and I, all of us, we are transacting. So I am having some knowledge about this particular technology, and I am giving that knowledge to you. So this is a transaction. How is this transaction happening? It is happening because you have trust in me. You know that Pranav is someone who has some knowledge, and he will give something valuable to us, and that's why this transaction is happening. If you don't trust me, if you don't know me, if ma'am doesn't know me, will this transaction take place? Even I doubt. So any kind of transaction requires trust. Today this trust is facilitated by the centralized organizations. So there is a central authority, whether it's government, whether it's a bank, whether it's an educational institute, whether it's stock exchanges, anything. There are central agencies, central authorities who facilitate this trust. So if I want to buy, say, a pair of shoes, I go to Amazon. So Amazon is the one who is helping in transacting between me and the vendor. So Amazon is a central authority. If I want to go from one particular place to another place, I want to drive somewhere, I have Uber. Uber is the person who's in the center, who will connect me with the taxi. So in this manner, there are a lot of centralized agencies, but these centralized agencies exercise control. They can bar you out of their applications if they want to. They can put whatever price on you that they want to. They can manipulate things, right? So these central authorities, central agencies, they have all the authority, they have all the right. And looking at the 2008 crisis and looking at this centralized model, Satoshi Nakamoto was the person who came forward and gave us this currency that we talk of, Bitcoin, which is nothing but which is a blockchain. So to understand the positives and the negatives of Bitcoin, you need to understand the underlying technology, which is blockchain. Now, blockchain technology, generally, when it comes to your mind or when someone speaks of it, this is the face generally I get. Like, well, what is it? I mean, how does it work? Why am I talking of it? So this is generally the funny face that we get when we speak of blockchain. But it's very simple, it's very straightforward. What exactly is the advantage of blockchain? It is transparent, it is decentralized, no one party can take control of it. It is fast, it eliminates intermediaries, it increases access to diverse population, it is available all the time. So if you want to transact with a bank, you need to go on the weekdays. You need to be there present in the timing between 9 to 4 or 5 till the time they're working. So a lot of restrictions there. But in blockchain, because it is decentralized, because it is a huge network which is storing your value, it is better, right? So faster, secure, reliable, eliminates cheaters, more transparent, removes the intermediaries, increases the frequency and efficiency of trades, increases access for diverse population, allows more people to trade, great ability to customize. It is a big network wherein everyone can participate. But what exactly is it? How does it work? And why am I talking about it? Your Bitcoin is based on this technology. So, as students, you need to understand what it is and how it works. So, I'll not go too much in the technicalities of it, but since we need to talk about Bitcoin, we need to understand why blockchain, why Bitcoin came into existence. So, blockchain basically is made up of three technologies which have existed till date, but they were all separate, they were not put together. And Satoshi Nakamoto, the person, the group, the people, whoever behind this technology, they thought of it and they brought everything together. They combined everything. So in the banking system, we saw in 2008 there was a crisis. Why was the crisis? Because people were doing fraud behind closed doors. There was no transparency. Because there was no transparency, people were able to do the fraud, and they had entire control on themselves. So if they wanted, they can throw Prana out of the system. They can put someone else in the system. They can close anyone's account. They can open anyone's account. So a lot of manipulation was happening. And secondly, the decisions that they were taking, no one was in charge of their decisions. They themselves decided on something and they went through with it. No discussions, no democracy was there. So looking at all of these three, four things, this technology came into existence, wherein this technology comprises of three things. One is cryptography, second is game theory, and third is peer-to-peer networks. You need to understand this. Prior to Bitcoin, there was no way of giving any virtual thing a fixed value. A very simple example. Today, if I have a photo and I want to send the photo to any one of you, say I want to send the photo to Jinesh, I can simply WhatsApp the photo to Jinesh and Jinesh will have the photo. But that photo, that picture will be duplicated. There will be multiple copies of the same, right? If something can be duplicated, replicated, if something has infinite supply, okay, the photo can be replicated n number of times. I can send it to not only Jinesh, I can send it to Taruna, Sanjana, Kabita, Shweta, Vipul, Indrajit. I can send it to all of you guys. It can be replicated n number of times. If something can be replicated n number of times, do you think it will have value? It won't. It will not. All right. And that's where Bitcoin comes into picture. That's where blockchain came into picture. It was the first time that digital assets were not replicated. They were one single unit in themselves and they were unique. They were immutable. They could not be replicated, cannot be changed. And how was this achieved? This was achieved by this first thing called as cryptography. So cryptography is basically a way in which you hide your original information and you don't allow anyone to modify or change things in it. All right. I generally say that the students are masters of cryptography, right? Why? Because generally in the exam hall, they know how to communicate. If Pranav wants to send a message to Jinesh in the exam hall, Jinesh will exactly know what is the meaning of, me scratching my finger face by one finger once, or if I cough twice, or I put my hand up and say two like this. All your friends know what that means, right? Just type in a yes or no. So I believe students are the best cryptographers ever. They know how to code things, how to hide information. It's a different thing. Right now we're talking about computer based cryptography, but the cryptography in general is a way in which you hide your details, hide your message. The second thing is game theory. I'll just come to game theory in a bit. First, let me explain to you what is peer-to-peer communication. Right now, everything is centralized. Okay, imagine that these all small pillars or small, magnet kind of things, these disks, they are separated, and we want to connect to them. We want one block to connect to the other, one entity to connect to the other. So what happens is they can connect, they can connect, but they have to go through this centralized server, the centralized system. I'll give you a very simple example. Today, if I want to communicate with any one of you right here, right now, I will have to go through Zoom. Whatever I'm saying to you goes through the Zoom server and it reaches you. If I'm sending you a message on WhatsApp, it goes through the WhatsApp server and then only then it reaches you. If you send me something on Facebook, Instagram, it goes through Instagram. So these centralized agencies are there always. If they feel that no, Pranav is talking nonsense, they will block the content. Many students generally say, sir, WhatsApp is secure. How many of you all feel WhatsApp is very secure? Just type in a yes or a no. People say WhatsApp, the messages are very encrypted and they are very secure. How many of you all feel that? Good, good. A lot of you all are on terms with what I know. So that's a good thing. WhatsApp is not at all secure. They might say that it is encrypted. They might say all of the things. But if if there is a threat, okay, don't try this. Never try this. I'm not telling you any one of you to try this. But if someone messages their friend, let's kill the president of US, immediately the NSA, the FBI, they will tap that message and they'll get back to you and they'll reach you in no time. So if you see WhatsApp, not secure. Why? Centralized control. Twitter, not secure, centralized control. So what can be done? That's why we have peer-to-peer networks, wherein no centralized agencies, no centralized parties. If Pranav has to communicate with Roshan, they will communicate directly. Okay, you all must have heard about this. You all must have used this. Have you all heard about torrents? Torrents. We generally, we used to download movies and series from there, right? Right. So torrents are peer-to-peer networks, and that is the reason why the governments cannot ban it. They cannot shut it down. Why? Because it is peer-to-peer. One person directly connects to the other person, right? So there is direct connection. So that's why peer-to-peer networks are important. No centralized authority. Whatever messages are there, they are directly sent from one party to the other. The messages are encoded using cryptography so that no one in the network is able to see the message. But how will you decide that the message is legit? So if Pranav wants to send some message to say Aman and Roshan, how will you come to know that the network, the message is legit? It is a genuine message and not something wrong or virus or some kind of a fraud message. There, this second part, game theory, comes in. In this network, there are a lot of participants that are there. These participants constantly keep checking what is happening in the network. They keep checking and they keep validating. Whatever is correct, they will let it flow through the network. They'll put it. If something is incorrect, they will stop it from flowing in the network. Okay, so let's talk about money transactions. Okay, generally money transactions are very well associated to us. It's basically in our brain, so we can talk about that. So suppose if I want to send say 100 rupees to Aman, and I put that message on the transaction list on the network that okay, Pranav wants to send 100 rupees to Aman. But if Pranav has only 50 rupees in the account, will the transaction go through? Is this transaction supposed to go through? Just type in a Y or an N. If Pranav has 50 rupees in his account and Pranav wants to send 100 rupees to Aman or Roshan, will the transaction go through or should the transaction go through? Ideally, it should not go through. Correct? It should not. It never should go through. That's what the network does. The network will check Pranav's account on the Bitcoin network. Okay, on the blockchain network, everything is public. Okay, if we talk about a public network, everything is public, everything is known to everyone. So the nodes on the network, the participants on the network, they will check Pranav's account. They will check all the incoming transactions, all the outgoing transactions. They will subtract that. And if there is a balance of 100 rupees or more, only and only then the transaction is going to go through. All of this checking, all of this validation requires a lot of time. It requires a lot of patience, a lot of computation time. That's what is called as mining. You might have heard about Bitcoin mining. So it is not something that you pick up some tool and start digging someplace. No, it is computers performing these actions. They are checking that if one person is transacting with another, is he or she able, is he or she a valid sender, is he or she capable of sending that transaction, then and only then the transaction will be allowed. Second thing, the transaction is irreversible. The transaction will be allowed, it will be put on the blockchain, it will be stored forever. If you and I, we want to know what transactions happened 5 years ago on a blockchain, whether it is Ethereum, whether it is Bitcoin, we can know that. Okay, it's easily doable, easily checkable. That is the power of this network. So the blockchain is nothing but it is a combination of three technologies. It is cryptography, peer-to-peer network, and game theory. Cryptography is basically to hide the messages. As I told you, everything is going to be public. So again, you'll ask me, then what about the privacy? That's why cryptography. In spite of everything being public, in spite of everything being on the chain, you will not be able to know who that person is. That's what cryptography is. Secondly, game theory to validate, to check the transactions. Game theory. And peer to peer networks, direct connections. If I talk in terms of IT, if I talk in terms of technology, to be a part of any network, you need to obey the rules. If you want to be a part of any network, you need to obey the rules. Say, for example, right now you want to be part of this Zoom call. You need to obey the rules. You have to keep your mics on mute. You can't talk nonsense in the chat. You have to listen patiently. There are some rules. You want to be a part of the college, the institute. There are some protocols you need to follow. So all of these blockchains, they have some rules. Again, the rules are validated using game theory. Okay, all the nodes on the network, they have to abide by those rules. Okay, the rules are also called as consensus protocols. So understand this, in any blockchain, three parts are always very important. First is the network, okay, the peer-to-peer connection. Second is the set of rules, the protocols. Okay, so when we connect on the internet also, you type google.com. So before Google, something like HTTP comes up. What is that? Hypertext Transfer Protocol. So even if you're using internet, if you're using Google, you're using any website, you need to abide by those rules, right? And the third thing to any blockchain network is the token, the cryptocurrency. All right. When we talk about Bitcoin, all the three things have the same name. So the blockchain is also called Bitcoin blockchain, meaning the peer-to-peer network is the Bitcoin network. The protocol is called as the Bitcoin protocol, and the token is called as BTC or the Bitcoin token. For Ethereum, it is the Ethereum network. The token is called ETH, and the protocol right now they are migrating to another protocol, but it is also called as Casper or Constantinople protocol, right? So all blockchains have these three mandatory parts. So as I told you, whenever there is a transaction to be put on a blockchain, the transaction is released, it is announced publicly that, guys, this is the transaction, I'm going to do this at this particular time. All the people on the network will start validating, so will start checking, okay, is the person authorized to do this kind of a transaction? Is the person a valid person to do this kind of a transaction? And then finally, once that is done, the result, the outcome is stored on the network, and the same thing is announced on the entire peer-to-peer network. So everyone knows that, okay, this particular person had sent a message to this particular person. Now, what that message was, no one knows. Why? Cryptography, privacy is maintained. All right. So this is how the transaction works. A request is sent that, okay, Pranav wants to send, say, Roshan some money. Request is validated, meaning it is checked, everything is verified. Once it is validated, a block is created and that transaction is added to the block. That's why this is called blockchain. Okay, it looks something like this. It is a chain of blocks, all the blocks are connected. Why is it important? Why is it so critical? Why is there a hype in this? Because the transactions are immutable, they cannot be changed, they cannot be reversed. So understand this, you have privacy, you have immutable transactions. Once done, it's done, it cannot be changed. Meaning, if Pranav says that, okay, tomorrow the lecture is going to start at 3, it is immutable. Tomorrow Pranav comes late at say 3:30, so I can't say the students that no, I had told 3:30 only. Why? Because the transaction is on the blockchain. Even the students, if they come late at 3:30, so say they decide to mass bunk half an hour and they turn up at 3:30, so they can't also deny that, sir, आपने तो 3:30 बजे बोला था. You can't do that because everything is immutable on this ledger. Now, there are different types of blockchain. Bitcoin is a public or a permission-less blockchain. We'll talk a little more on that. But there are other private blockchains also. So tomorrow, if your college wants a in-house blockchain, they can create one. Okay, they will decide on the rules and then they will pull the network up and everyone can participate if they have permission to do that. So permission blockchains, you require permission to participate. Public blockchains, anyone and everyone can do it. Till the time you abide by those rules, the blockchain will allow you to participate. You don't follow the rules, the blockchain is automatically going to throw you out. So I've already explained what cryptography is. It is nothing but it is a way of hiding your message. I'll not go too much into the technicalities. Then there is network consensus, which is the game theory, wherein everyone validates the protocol and they check whether you are a valid user, a valid sender of that transaction. For Bitcoin, the protocol is also called as proof of work, wherein some work is done by the miners, by the validators, by the nodes. They do some work and that work can be verified by this proof of work algorithm. They do some work to calculate a particular number. I'll show you the live blockchain right now and I'll show you what that number is. The number is called as nuns. It should be here somewhere. Yeah, see. The number is called as nuns. So all the nodes who are participating in the network, they have to validate the entire transaction. They have to check if there is some discrepancy and they have to give a nuns with a proof that, okay, see, I have done the work and this nuns is the proof that I have done the work. Is this the only way mining can be done? Is this the only protocol that can be followed? No, there are different protocols. There is something called as proof of stake. There is something called as delegated proof of stake, and these are some other algorithms that are used. So you basically can come up with a consensus protocol by your own self, and you can decide, okay, this is the protocol that we need to follow. All right. I hope everyone's with me. Just type in a yes or no. And any other queries, if you have, you can ask in the chat, guys. Just type in a yes or no if you are with me. Okay. Now, generally, when I speak till here, quite a few students give me this expression. Okay. Generally, this expression is seen when I talk till here because this is a little technical, right? And people generally, it tends to go over their heads. But just to give you like a gist of whatever I've said, imagine Bitcoin is a distributed ledger technology. Okay. Now, what do I mean by distributed ledger? Forget about the words. Imagine every one of us has a piece of paper. Okay, all of us has a piece of paper. Now that paper is not a normal piece of paper. It is a magic piece of paper. It is a magic paper. Why am I calling it as magic? Because if anyone writes their name on that paper, it will appear on all the papers together. So suppose I write my name on the top, it will appear on everyone's sheet. After me, say Vishal writes his name on the sheet, it will again appear. So you'll have Pranav Vishal. If Shweta writes it afterwards, so it will be Pranav Vishal Shweta. If Roshan writes it afterwards, Pranav Vishal Shweta Roshan, and so on. Secondly, no one can erase or modify their names. So it is a sheet of paper which everyone can see, everyone can access, everyone can write on it, provided they follow the rules. They can write on it. No one can erase and modify. Okay. This is blockchain. This magic piece of paper is called blockchain. It is also called as DLT, distributed ledger technology. Ledger is nothing but a record, a set of records. Because it is distributed, because it is available all the time. That's why distributed ledger tech. I'm so sorry, my throat is a little clogged up. I was not well since 2-3 days, bad cough and cold. So I hope it's not a hindrance here. So this magic piece of paper is what we call as a blockchain. Now I had told you that I will show you a live blockchain, right? So let me just show it to you. I'll show you the live Bitcoin blockchain, wherein you can also go online. You can also type these things in your browser and you can also gauge this Bitcoin. So right now, Bitcoin is the network that we are talking of. The price of the Bitcoin token is $43,925. This hash rate is nothing but it gives you an estimation of how many people, how many nodes are connected to the network, who are continuously checking it, who are continuously making sure that the Bitcoin network is up and running and it is correct. Okay, generally people say this is a non-intrinsic value. Matlab, in simple terms, Bitcoin doesn't have an intrinsic value, they say. But the intrinsic value is not about physical product. Today, if you see what exactly is the value of Facebook, what is the value of Twitter, these are our virtual things, social networks, right? The value in a particular thing is all about how many people are connected to that network, the power of that network, the strength of that network. So the power of Bitcoin is 210 ETA hashes. Okay, I don't even know how many number of zeros are there after this is, after 210 point, I don't know how many zeros are there, but this is the strength of the Bitcoin network, meaning so many people are connected, and this is a huge number. I believe this is on the all-time high side. If you look at it, what transactions are happening currently, all of these are the latest blocks. Okay, I'll just open one of these blocks. This is the latest block which came up 6 minutes ago. How many transactions are there in this block? 509 transactions. I told you that they try calculating a number, the nonce. This is the number. Okay, you can see. I hope the nonce is visible to you. Just type in a Y if it's visible. So this is the nonce that all the miners try to find out. They find it out. They find it out. Yeah, Ziad, I'll talk to you about NFTs in a bit, right? They find this number out and they prove that, I have validated all these 509 transactions. These 509 transactions are correct. Okay, who has done this? Some unknown miner. We don't know. Okay, we don't know. Indrajit, you can just type in the question in the chat. So some miner has raised this request that I know I have confirmed the 509 transactions. This is my proof of work, this number, you can check it out. And because I have done this, I will get the reward of 6.25 Bitcoins. So the mining operation gives you a reward. Why would I perform this heavy duty calculation if I don't get anything? So being part of the network, making sure that the network is strong, gives Bitcoin its value and gives this reward to the miner. And what 509 transactions were there? These are all the transactions that were there. Okay, everything is public, everything is clear, everything is open. You imagine if our ecosystem, our government ecosystem becomes this transparent, that okay, I will give 11 Bitcoins to this particular entity. How easy would it become for us to check whether all the money is going in the right place? Today, the government is spending like crazy. Okay, this world debt is nothing but the government spending, right? They are spending crazy money. Okay, crazy money. Why? Because they say that they will give it to a particular department or they'll do the welfare of people. I doubt how much the people are getting that money. But if this kind of a system is there, imagine how transparent things will become, and you will be able to gauge whether the governments are doing the work they are saying they're doing. That is the power of blockchain. That is the power of Bitcoin, right? So quickly we'll move towards the conclusion of it. So Bitcoin or the blockchain has a deep history. It's not in 2008 or 9 that it started off. Bitcoin started off in 2009, but the blockchain has a big history. The concept was formed in the 1990s. And then in 2009, Satoshi created Bitcoin, and that's where it started off. Till date, it has proved to be a very secure network, never been hacked, never been broken. Okay, Facebook goes down every now and then. Geo network went down some time back, like a few days ago. But Bitcoin never down. It is never had a downtime. I think only once there was a bug in the system. I think in 2009 or 10 only it happened once, and immediately the developers responded and the network was back live. So it has been in its current consistent state ever since its inception. Blockchain has evolved, and what we see right now, as Ziad was talking about NFTs, all of these things come in this blockchain 3.0. They come in the third version of the blockchain. So the first blockchain version is simply transfer of ideas, transfer of transactions. The blockchain 2.0 was automating things, smart contracts. So we have automatic programs running, but those programs are running in the central server. They have centralized control. You can have transparent, decentralized programs running, and those are smart contracts. And right now, what you are looking at, all the NFTs, all the assets, they are now in the third version where dApps come into the picture, decentralized automatic organizations, sorry, decentralized autonomous organizations, DAOs. So that comes into the picture. So you can see there is a lot of tokenization that is happening. Real estate is being tokenized, gold is being tokenized, antiques are being tokenized. You all might have heard about this painting. Anyone knows this painting? Type in a yes or no. This is a painting that this fellow had created. I'm forgetting the name of it, and sold for $69 million. $69 million. It's a huge sum of money. Why? Because this painting is unique. It is a piece in its own self. You can see it has multiple small paintings embedded in it. There are many paintings over the years that guy had drawn. You can see, I'll scroll it slowly. There are so many small paintings. And why has this painting so been sold at such a high cost? And trust me, this was bought by two Indians. Okay, $69 million spent by two Indians. Why? Because they are going to make millions of dollars out of this painting. Okay, their plan is basically to break this painting down. Okay, they are practically the owners of it. They'll break these paintings down into single form, and they are going to rent it out, or they are going to sell it individually, and they're going to make money. So in this type of tokenization, things can be now tokenized. They can be put on blockchain. Different assets can be put, whether it's oil, gold, whether it's real estate, whether it's music, whether it's art, all of that can be put on the blockchain. And you have fungible tokens and non-fungible tokens. So your NFTs are non-fungible tokens, meaning they cannot be broken down. They do not have the same value. So if I have a painting and you have a painting, they will be of a different value. You might be a really great painter, so the painting with you will be huge, valuable painting. Painting with me will not be that valuable. And with this, Bitcoin, you can see, has had a great journey. So we have had tokens in different areas, but Bitcoin is one of the strongest tokens that are there. And it has all the properties of the money flower, of the money. It is accessible, anyone can access it. It is digital in nature, anyone with a small phone can also use it. It is not central bank issued. No entity, no government, no central bank has control on it. And it is peer to peer. People can transact directly from one person to the other. So if you look at it, it has a lot of advantages. Now, the topic here is whether it's a boon or a bane. Now, I being a blockchain guy, I being a techie, I would want to highlight all the boons, but there are certain drawbacks that also I'll talk of. Bitcoin is basically resembling responsibility. When you talk about blockchain, you become responsible for your own currency. You become responsible for your own account. Tomorrow, if you lose your account, if you lose your passwords, if you don't remember your account number, if you're with a bank, you can go to the bank and you can say, I need this account number. I am the person. They'll check your identity and they'll give you the account number and access. But here, because it is decentralized, no one can do that. You have to be responsible enough. You have to be smart enough to know your account number, your password, your details. It should not be given access to anyone. So if someone says, "Oh, show me your account," na, never show it. Why? Because they know how to hack your accounts. So it is hackable. It can result in loss of money. We have seen high volatility in this space, but if you look over the years, the volatility is decreasing. day by day. So as this asset grows, the volatility goes down, and it is proved to be a store of value, right? So there are certain responsibilities that you need to take care, you need to be aware of, but then there are a lot of advantages also. I'll talk to you about the advantages. So many tokens are introduced, but how to know which coin are valid? I would recommend stay away from all the coins. As I told you, every blockchain, three parts are there for that particular blockchain. The protocol is there, the network is there, and if you want to use the network with the help of that protocol, you need some kind of gas, you need some money, and the token is basically the gas that you use. So if I want to travel on the road, there is a road, I want to travel on the road, I need to have a car. Having a car is the rule, the road is basically the network, and for the car to move you need petrol, right? So similarly, if you want to use the network, there are some protocols you need to follow. Okay, whether it's Ethereum, whether it's Solana, whether it's something else, you need to follow the protocols. And to use that network, to follow those protocols, you need some kind of a gas, you need some kind of money for that, and that's what is the tokens. So I would recommend stay away from all the so-called hyped tokens. Look at the technology, look at the background of it, then you will be able to understand. Now, talking about the pros, why is Bitcoin so important and why are governments all across taking Bitcoin into their main system? So if you see these articles I have snapshotted few hours ago in the morning today. So you can see the time is mentioned here. Russia is moving towards accepting cryptocurrency. Okay, so there is a country called as El Salvador. It has made Bitcoin legal. Yeah, the 30% tax. I'll talk to you about it in a bit. El Salvador is the first country in the world who's made Bitcoin their legal tender. You can legally go and buy, sell things using Bitcoin. Now they are planning on launching the Bitcoin bond next month, right? Again, today morning's news, right? Russia is accepting. India introduced a tax of 30%. In general, it shows that we are also accepting Bitcoin. So overall, why is this currency being accepted all across? For a very simple reason, that for any money, any currency to exist, okay, for any currency to exist, it should have a limited supply. It should have a limited supply. The INR that we use, the USD that we use, they have infinite supply. Okay, if you look at it, total assets globally in the last 2 years have risen from 400 to 468 trillion dollars. Okay, you see, this big a jump has never come across ever. Okay, the biggest jump was in 2006 and 8, something similar, but it was still not that big, only a few 30, 40 trillion. Here, more than 60 trillion dollars worth of assets were infused. Why? Why did this go up? For a very simple reason, the assets did not increase. The assets did not increase. The value of the dollar went down. Why? Infinite supply. More than 50% of the currency globally was printed in last one and a half year. Okay, I'll give you a chart. Not trying to scare you guys, but this is a chart of inflation. Okay, I'm not creating it, I'm not fabricating it, I'm just sharing the news that is there all across the globe. This is the inflation chart. Okay, Japan has 0.8% inflation that they measured in December 21. Highest inflation, Argentina, 51%. What does inflation mean? The rise in the price of things, commodities. So if I bought something for 100 rupees yesterday, today, with this 51% inflation, it becomes for 150 rupees. Okay, India is not behind. India is somewhere here. See, around 5.5% inflation, US 7% inflation. These numbers are huge. 7% inflation is huge, and this is official. In reality, it is much higher. You don't believe me? Go down, buy something. You don't buy much, right? Ask your parents, your mom. She must be buying groceries, vegetables. Ask her. In the last 1 year, what price were tomatoes last year, what price tomatoes are this year, what price ladyfinger was last year, what price ladyfinger is right now. This is inflation. And this inflation comes because new money is thrown into the system. So if you throw more money, if the money is more abundant, things are going to get costlier. When you talk about Bitcoin, okay, when you talk about Bitcoin, it has a fixed supply. How do I know it? I'll show it to you live. Okay, you can go on any exchange. Okay, you can go on any exchange. I am going on CoinGecko. You click on Bitcoin. The supply, the total supply is fixed to 21 million. The protocol states, Bitcoin protocol states that there can only be 21 million tokens ever, not even 0.000001 token extra. And out of this 21 million, I think 2 or 3 million are already lost. Okay, so you can imagine this is, I don't think this is going to go above 19 or 20 million ever. That is the reason why this price is going up. Bitcoin is not increasing in price. The dollar is going down in price. Okay, so if you simply put devaluation of USD, if you do that, you pull up the images, you will be able to see how the dollar has devalued over the times. Okay, so in 1950s, what the value of dollar was, and since then, how the dollar value has collapsed. And that is the reason why this inflation has risen. And this inflation is causing us deep, deep impact. What is the ultimate, way to save ourselves? One of the ways is cryptocurrency. Why? Not all crypto. Okay, I'm not. This is not a financial advice. I'm not telling anyone to go and buy or sell anything. But this is one way of storing wealth because the supply is fixed. Okay, if you look at the world currency, the total world assets. Okay, this is an old chart. It was created in 2020 when Bitcoin market cap was only 244 billion. Right now, it is around 800 billion. Okay, it's around 4 times this. Okay, in spite of that, just imagine how much money is there in the world and what people are doing. And out of this entire money, around 40%, 40% came in the last 2 years. Okay, last 2 years. And that's why this world debt has gone crazy, above $30 trillion just for US. All right, this is the military spending. This is the US budget. Okay, $3.8 trillion. Okay, this is again for 2020. In 2009, this was 1.4 trillion. Within a change of 11 years, 3.8 trillion. Imagine the jump. What currency notes are there in the world? 6.6 trillion currencies are there. Okay, US is this much, Europe is this much, and the other countries. Federal banks balance sheet. Okay, look at this. Okay, added since 2008. This is the entire thing added since 2008. Only these 3 columns were there prior to 2008. This entire thing is after 2008, and this is since 2020. Okay, and this has doubled. Trust me, this has gone way higher than this is. Right now, they're saying 7 trillion. I think it is around 9 trillion, if I'm not wrong. All right, the total wealth by the billionaires, the top billionaires. Okay, this much wealth. How much wealth gold has? This is the total amount of wealth gold has. Fortune 500 companies, this is the amount of total wealth that they have. Okay, I don't have much time, so I'm just going a little fast here. This is the stock markets that have the wealth. $89.5 trillion of wealth is there in the world's stock exchanges. New York Stock Exchange, 31%, NASDAQ is another 14%, and the other ones are there here. The total money supply in the world, 35.2 trillion is accessible. 95.7 trillion is not accessible. Okay, so you can imagine this is the money supply that is there. How much money is there in the market? Okay, the global debt, look at the global debt. Okay, 253 trillion. This is, I think, way above 300 trillion now. All right. This is the households, governments, the non-financial corporations, and financial sectors. All right. So around 300 trillion, the government debt is, and this is the global real estate, 280 trillion. All right. Commercial is 33 trillion, agriculture 27 trillion. Global wealth, $360 trillion. Imagine the amount of money in the market. Okay. Now simply look at this part. This is what I want generally my students to look at. Derivatives. I'll just keep scrolling. Okay. It's technically, practically never ending kind of a thing. 1 quadrillion. That's what is an estimate. 2020. This was estimated in 2020. So imagine how much wealth is there in the market. And compared to that, how much wealth is allocated in different sectors. That will help you gauge, where markets are trending and how you can keep your wealth safe. That is totally on you. So I was talking to you about El Salvador has is planning on getting a crypto trading bond. Samsung is getting into metaverse. Okay, it's getting into Decentraland. This was a tweet put out yesterday. Okay, and McDonald's is planning on getting into it. I think Samsung already is into it. Yeah, McDonald's is getting into it. US government is holding so many bitcoins. So overall, if you look at it, if you want to compare the negatives and the positives, I believe decentralization, control of your money in your hands, you getting to decide, whether you want to use it, sell it, complete control. No one can throw you out of the system, right? That are the positives. If you look at the negatives, the government is taxing a lot, as mentioned by Ziad here. Uh, because the government needs funds, they also want people to get educated. So if people who don't know much about it try entering, so they'll have to pay heavily on the losses. So that's why probably the government is taxing so much. But if you want to hedge yourself against inflation, I believe this is a very important time that you want to pay attention to these assets. And volatility, if you look at it, the volatility over the past years has been decreasing. Definitely it goes up, goes down pretty much. But if you look at, compare it by how much percent it used to go up and down earlier, and you compare it right now, it is decreased. And another thing that you also have to consider is the amount of capital in it. Because there is a small capital, any one person can come at, move the market very easily. They can manipulate the market very easily. Once this capital becomes very high, instead of just 800 billion, imagine if uh, Bitcoin becomes equal to gold. Gold is around $12 trillion. Bitcoin becomes equal to gold. Bitcoin will become very, very stable compared to what it is right now. So there are a lot of pros, a lot of cons. You have to look into it. You have to gain the knowledge, because learning, guys, is a infinite process. It never ends. It's a never-ending process. And if you stop learning, you will not be making any progress. So my suggestion to everyone here is, uh, I had some limited time. I put forward whatever I could. I gave you a complete gist of what this technology is, how it works, and why or why not you should use. It's completely up to you. No financial advice is given during this session, but it is a prominent asset class, and even the government now has realized it, and they are trying to improvise. They are trying to get their own digital currency in the market by the digital rupee. They had tried once earlier also in 2018. They had tried to bring their own cryptocurrency called as the Lakshmi coin. You can Google it, you'll get the news articles and everything. But at that time, they were not able to get it. Probably this time they would be able to get it, and we all would be able to use the blockchain. I believe some queries are there. Ziad is asking how to mine. Mining is not that complex a process. You can set up miners. Okay, the mining is nothing but some complex calculations are being run, right? So you can't do that on a normal computer, because normal computers are not that powerful. So you would require a very heavy duty computer for that. Generally, GPUs are used for mining, so you can purchase that. You just install one software and then connect it to the internet and keep it on. You practically don't have to sit and write something. It is just a program that keeps running and you can mine with it. How do you make your own blockchain? You can create your own blockchain. It is a big task as of now, but not impossible. There are many blockchains that are there. You decide on the usage, you decide on the protocols, you decide on the use case, whether you want to use a blockchain for supply chain, whether you want to use the blockchain for crypto transactions, whether you want to use a blockchain for, say, servers, you want to use a blockchain for NFTs. What exactly is the purpose? You decide that. You decide on a programming language you want to use or make a blockchain in, and then you can just go ahead and hire some coders, or if you are a coder, you can yourself program it and then deploy it. So making a blockchain not that big a deal, so you can do that. How to gain knowledge regarding digital currencies? There are a lot of online resources you can refer. I myself keep listening to a lot of podcasts. I keep listening to a lot of YouTube videos. I keep reading a lot of articles. Like all of these articles that you see, I saw them last night, and today in the morning I put it up before you. So all of these are very recent. You can see the time here. Okay, 9th February. So I keep referring to a lot of material. You can also do the same, and you can also become an expert, right? So any other queries, guys, you can ask. So with this, I guess if no queries are there, I'll move towards conclusion of this. So with this, I would like to conclude, and I would like to say that Bitcoin is just one aspect of this amazing technology, which basically is moving towards freedom of for us. Today, everyone wants to be free. You don't like being, dominated. You don't like being hammered. Even I don't. If someone sits on my head and says, "No, do this, do this, do this, do this," I will not like it. I want to be free. And if you look at it, blockchain is helping liberate us. It is basically freedom in the most basic form, digital freedom. So till now, there was no solution for digital freedom. We had to heavily rely on the centralized agencies, centralized applications. But with blockchain, everyone can achieve that freedom. So Bitcoin is just one aspect of it. Definitely, you should know how it works, what it is. But more than that, you should look into what blockchain is, how it works. Because if you understand the basics of this, you can understand the basics of anything. So with this, I would like to say that blockchain is the future, guys. Please look into it, educate yourself, study, learn, because learning, as I said, is an infinite process. It is a never-ending process, never ends. And I would like to conclude here. I would like to thank the entire management of Jalan College, Rajeshwari ma'am, the entire team, all the students, lovely students. I really loved how you all interacted and listened to me very patiently. I hope I was able to deliver some knowledge. I was able to put across some, gain in some manner. I was able to provide to you. And again, I would like to thank Rajeshwari madam for reaching out to me and organizing this great event. And thank you so much, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Okay, first and foremost, Pranav, we would like to thank you because in spite of your ill health, you said you just recovered, and we could make out that because you still have cold and all this. But in spite of that, you did not cancel your session. So that's really great and to be applauded for your good time that you have given in spite of not feeling so well. Another thing is, we heard the entire session. It was so interesting, but still, I can talk about me. I'm still like the image you showed as confused. So, I mean, there's too much technicalities. Things were going somewhere. We were able to correlate. Some was going bumper. Maybe we have to sit through the session for 4-5 times to understand what it is. And then it may not be that difficult. But it was a wonderful session. And the students who actually sat through in order to understand what it is, because they said that Bitcoin is definitely going to emerge more and more, evolve more and more. So for which I think we need a person like you who can actually give you gyan on that. And I can proudly say that I did not make any mistake in inviting you as a resource person. Who else can narrate the whole thing so beautifully? No one could have. I mean, hats off to you. The way you took us through, which particular website you visit and what we could, all those. It was fantastic. And I'm really happy that I invited you. Now, before we conclude, we have with us Dr. Durvi Thakur. She's going to extend the word of thanks for today's session.
Good afternoon to all dignitaries and their students. I, Dr. Durvi Kapil Thakur, Assistant Professor in GD Jalan College, gives a vote of thanks to our resource person, Mr. Pranav Shastri. Thank you, sir, to give in-depth knowledge about the cryptocurrency and blockchain concept. The Indian government has decided to tax cryptocurrency at a 30% from the next financial year. This is the second highest to France and Australia, who taxed the income on a virtual currency at a 45%. I am very fortunate that I had an opportunity to work with Mr. Pranav Shastri at a BSc Training Institute for a brief period. My special thanks to Shri Babulalji Todi, convener of our college committee, to give us an opportunity to add value in our education system. Thanks to all other management committee members who are present here to encourage us. My hearty and special thanks to our dynamic director and a great visionary, Dr. Rajeshwari Ravi, to organize such a knowledgeable webinar. She always gives us the direction for a bright future of students as well for the educators. I also thank to all teaching and non-teaching and technical staff who supplement the need on the ground. Last and not least, thanks to all my cheerful and wonderful audience who always enjoy and cherish the knowledge. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Pranav, please get well soon.
Thank you,
We
ma'am.
will
Thank
meet
you.
you in our college. We will invite you for an offline session with the students.
Sure, ma'am.
Students have started coming now, maybe shortly. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.